everybody. I am Drew Duncan, and this is the Sync 57 Sports Show. A lot to get to today, obviously, on a Friday. Game predictions. We're going to be looking at college football, the NFL. We're going to be talking a little bit about the UFC happening this weekend as well, including tonight with a new deal that they have made. And then, of course, on top of that, we'll be talking about the last round of preseason games, and in case you haven't seen it, you definitely need to. In my estimation, it is the Redeem Team. Man, hell of a, I guess you'd call it a sportsumentary instead of a documentary, but that thing was definitely entertaining to watch. For me, it was anyways, and I don't think, look, anybody who's even a casual sports fan, I think would greatly appreciate the Redeem Team. Great job by Netflix. Great job. All right, let's get to it. First thing is first, the UFC, check this out, man. They have decided to go ahead and join in on the Metaverse thing, apparently for their Fight Pass tonight with LFA. LFA 144 to be more specific. They are going to be teaming up and doing the whole Metaverse thing. So if you've got virtual reality glasses, which, you know, the cost of them things, go ahead, throw them on, get on UFC Fight Pass, pay a little bit more money, and then after that, you can watch it in virtual reality. You know, I love the UFC as much as anybody else. I love Bellator. I love, One Championship. I love watching boxing and MMA all together. I've been fairly entertained by the BKFC. I've interviewed, obviously, plenty of BKFC fighters. You know, the thing that really gets to me about it is just more and more money, right? It just seems like any way that they can drum up a few extra bucks, they're going to do it. And the cost of being a UFC fan is just becoming egregious, right? You've got to have a subscription to ESPN. Then on top of that, you get maybe 2 or 3 fights a week that you have to watch specifically, or, not a week, but a month. That includes, I guess you could also throw in there, if you're a diehard fan, right, the Tuesday night events that they do, right, the couple guys trying to get a UFC contract, etc. And then, of course, you've got the pay-per-views that you're going to be paying for, and that's even if you've got a subscription to the app, that's going to run you $69, right, per each pay-per-view. Then, in addition to that, now it's the UFC Fight Pass, of course, which has been out for a very long time, but they have that out there. And so now you have to do that as well, right? If you want to have an even better, quote, experience, now you're going to have to go on. And now you're going to have to do this Metaverse thing, which tells me eventually they're going to move it over exclusively to that. So in order to be able to enjoy a fight, you're going to have goggles. It may not be today, it may not be tomorrow, it may not even be next year, but at some point, you are going to have to do that if you want to enjoy being a UFC fan. And it's just to the point to me where it's a little ridiculous, especially when you pay for a pay-per-view, you don't really know what you are going to get. You literally have no clue. And everybody's so excited. Oh, man, all of our events are on UFC Fight Pass, of course, et cetera, et cetera. We broadcast on YouTube, yada, yada. Everybody's trying to make a buck in this game. Everybody. And there are so many MMA brands out there. Where I'm from in the state of Kansas, off the top of my head, I can think of about 3 or 4. It's to a point now where it's egregious, and everybody's trying to cash in on the let's be an MMA fighter thing, wave, whatever you want to call it, that has happened over about the last 4, 5, 6 years. At one point, everybody wanted to be a boxer. Then everybody wanted to be an NFL football player. Now everybody wants to be an MMA fighter. Look, man, you don't wake up in the morning, have a cup of coffee, and then go match somebody in the cage. It's not the way that it works. You don't know what you're going to get pay-per-view to pay-per-view, if it's going to be a good one, if it's not. Obviously, as a matchmaker, you could do the best that you can, but you don't know if people are going to make weight or not. You don't know if people are going to be professional with the media. You don't know if people are going to show up ready to fight. You don't know if it's going to be a 10-second fight, a 10-minute fight. You don't know what the fan perception of everything is going to be. Then on top of that, if you want to attend a fight, man, then there's the gate money and all that extra stuff, traveling, because it's pretty much done in Vegas for the most part. Then they travel around the world and have those fights. So the cost of being a UFC fan and the cost of being a want to be a UFC fighter is just become extraordinary. So whatever, I guess, at this point, whatever, man. Do you, Dana? All right. College football games to look forward to, as if it hasn't been talked about ad nauseum at this point. Oklahoma State is going to be taking on TCU. Look, I like TCU to win that football game. I think Oklahoma State technically has a better offense, but they have struggled with some teams that they should not have struggled with, i.e. Texas Tech. They've had some other games that are very suspect. I like TCU to win that game by maybe 10 points tomorrow. I just think that there's too much defense, not enough offense from Oklahoma State. Very overrated football team, a little suspect, and TCU wins. That's the way that I look at that. Bama's going to be taking on Tennessee. Again, Bama taking on some teams, Texas, some others that they just, they really haven't just put anybody away that they should have dominated. And that's been the thing with me with Georgia. In the end, Georgia hasn't played anybody, right? It looked good early on, but it ended up being not the greatest schedule outside of the conference. But at least they've been doing what they're supposed to do. Teams that you were superior to, they are dominating, right? That's what you're supposed to do. If you are obviously better, you should be winning by a large margin. They're doing that very well. And so I just think that Bama isn't the number one team in college football. I think they're probably still a top 10 team in college football. Do I think Tennessee is that good? No, I think this could be the closest game in college football the weekend that is, quote, relevant. And I like Tennessee at home in a squeaker. Okay, it's not to say that Saban doesn't know how to win these games, and I'm not saying that Bama's fallen. I'm not saying that Bama couldn't make it back to a CFP this year. And ultimately, this game will probably have no bearing on that, because basically all they still have to do is win their subdivision and go undefeated there and go to the SEC championship. So even with one loss, they could still go to the SEC championship. They'll have to play Georgia. If they figure out a way to get by them, they'll still be in. Okay, so I'm not talking about Alabama being the worst team on planet Earth, especially given the way the college football season has gone this year. All right? I mean, come on, you've got James Madison ranked 25 right now. That's how desperate these guys are getting, I think. Not to disparage James Madison, but let's just keep that 100. They're not going to be playing for a college football playoff anytime soon. And I'm a guy who roots for the little guy. And if they go undefeated, they should get a shot. But man, I don't see that going anywhere. You've got Syracuse, North Carolina State. Syracuse is going to be at the Dome. They're going to be anticipating one of the largest crowd that they've probably had in nearly a decade. And look, man, like I've said before, anybody who knows me knows that Syracuse is my favorite college football team. All right, I'm staring at my Syracuse helmet. I'm staring at my autographed Syracuse hat. I've got my Syracuse jersey. Okay, I've got Donovan McNabb's Syracuse cards. All kinds of stuff, man. All kinds of Syracuse memorabilia. The fact of the matter is, they're not that good. They struggled with Virginia. And as much as I want to see them succeed, tomorrow night, I should say, they get exposed. Well, really tomorrow afternoon, 2:30 game on the ACC network. They're going to get exposed. North Carolina State's going to take care of business. Believe it or not, Syracuse has only given up 3.5 in this game as of the moment. And I'll be honest with you, I think that's being very generous. Syracuse does have a championship caliber defense, and they have a very underrated running back in Sean Tucker, a guy who probably last season should have won the Heisman. It could certainly be argued that he was in that conversation. Going into this season, he just hasn't been up to snuff. I think our quarterback is slightly overrated, Schrader. And even though he's got some serious wheels, I just don't know that Syracuse finds enough balance to win that game. And I actually think they lose probably by 14 tomorrow night against North Carolina State in the Dome. I think it's close for about 3 quarters, and then North Carolina State ends up pulling away late. All right. Last round of preseason for the NBA. Boy, I know you don't care, but I'm going to tell you what. I think all eyes are going to be on Golden State. Obviously, Draymond Green coming back. That's going to be a thing. Steve Kerr has repeated that, he's been fined. Nobody's going to suspend him. We've had conversations, and I anticipate he's going to play the final game of the preseason on Friday night. Of course, the NBA season officially tips off on Tuesday, and then that'll be shortly followed about a week up, right? I think the first game of the year, November 2nd, so a couple of weeks out for college basketball. But I think everybody's going to be watching that just to see, just to see. And it's fair. It's real fair. Let's keep it real. I've already talked about how I feel about that whole situation with Draymond. Just 2 grown men entered into a thing. Draymond getting a lack of punishment, I think, tells me all I need to know about how the NBA viewed that situation. I think they just felt like they had to do something because the footage was released. Outside of that, it's just 2 grown men. All right. And I know, guys like Steve Nash have come out and said, look, it's going to hurt him getting an extension that he wants. And, at some point, you start to lose value and this and that and the third. I'm going to tell you something. The Warriors have had 1,000,001 opportunities to, quote, lose value in Draymond and let him go somewhere else. They understand who he is. And if they decide to let Draymond go, it will be kicking and screaming. It's not something that they want to do. Believe me when I tell you. He's been a huge reason for their success. Whether you like that statement or not, it is a point of fact. Defensive playing, rebounds, intimidation, those things still hold a place in the NBA, especially for the Golden State Warriors. And believe me when I tell you, they appreciate who Draymond is on the court more than you want to presume they do. In terms of off the court, this is not like a constant thing. I mean, obviously, there was the pics that happened on Twitter. I'm not going to get into all that, but damn. So there's that. That's going to be going on. The NFL on Sunday, I got to tell you, man, I'm not even sure people are really worried about Monday Night Football right now with Denver and LA. And I just think that they're like, man, why are we going to watch another primetime game? Russell Wilson just not up to snuff. And even then, the NFL very topsy-turvy right now. You got a lot of 2 and 3 teams in the NFL. A lot of 2 and 3 teams. Right? For instance, the Saints and Bengals are going to be playing each other. You've got the Ravens and the Giants at 4-1, 3-2. I actually like Baltimore to win that football game. I think the Giants, pretty good defense, offense, a little suspect. Not going to be able to get past the Ravens. You've got a 3-2 Buccaneers team taking on a 1-4 Steelers team. Mike Tomlin under the gun right now, but I'm going to tell you what. I take Mike Tomlin as my head coach. That man has been to 2 Super Bowls. I think he's only had 1 or 2 losing seasons. Have he ever even had a losing season? I mean, and a lot of people, we'll go 13-3 and then lose in the first round of the playoffs. Dude, the playoffs are the playoffs. It happens. You've been to 2 Super Bowls. You won 1 of them. Don't talk to me about Big Ben. That dude is doing the best with what he's got right now. Mike Tomlin is one of my favorite coaches in the NFL. And they could bounce back against Tampa. The Bucs, they're not that good this year. So we'll see. You've got, again, another pair of 2 and 3 teams, the Cardinals and the Seahawks. I know people think that Geno Smith is playing out of his mind football. He's playing okay football. Okay, it's just the Monday night game made him look really good for about 2.5 quarters. After that, the Broncos defense shut him down. Okay, Geno's been playing good, but not great. And I like Seattle's defense over the Cardinals' defense, so I would take Seattle in that game. Then, of course, everybody will be looking at these 2 games, right? These are the games that everybody's going to be caring about. The Chiefs taking on the Bills, and the Cowboys going into Philly on Sunday night to play an undefeated Eagles team. Boy, Jalen Hurts, man, I love him, but that Dallas defense is legit. To me, this has very little to do with Cooper Rush. I'm tired of hearing about him. He's not that good. He's extremely mid, all right? And they're not going to win that game because of Cooper. They are going to win it because of that defense. So I like the Cowboys, even though the game is in Philly. And Philly's offense has been playing great. They really have been. But here's the thing. When you go down and you look at the list of teams that they have played, the Jaguars, okay, the Lions, the Vikings, Washington, all right, they only got 20 on Arizona. I just think that Dallas's defense is too good. They're too good. So there's that. The Redeem Team. Man, I tell you what, I laughed so hard watching that damn thing. You know, it was cool, man, because they really, more than anything, they let the guys be the guys. You know, they let LeBron and Melo and Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh and, you know, Coach K, they just let those guys be themselves. That to me was the absolute best part about that documentary. I really enjoyed watching it. And then, of course, man, seeing Kobe, you know, and him and his daughter when they celebrated his birthday while they were in China, if I remember correctly, just holding her as they sang happy birthday to him. Man, that, just for lack of anything, that shit was sad. You know, I mean, as somebody who, I lost my grandmother, 18-year-old brother, dad, and aunt all within 7 months of each other. And when memories like that pop up, you just, what I'm saying is I feel for that family. I really do feel for that family. You know, Kobe highlights are never going to go away. And Black Mama's memory is going to always be there. And when you're fighting, trying to get through the loss of a loved one, sometimes I wonder how selfish we are as people who crave that same thing, but don't necessarily deserve it because we're fans. We didn't know Kobe. I don't know, man. I guess I always have that internal conflict. You know? We didn't deserve Kobe Bean. He was too good of a ball player. And it's the same thing that I've said about LeBron. We don't deserve LeBron. I know that a lot of people talk about MJ being the GOAT, which I think MJ is the GOAT. But to say that LeBron James is not a good basketball player to me is just so stupid. And the reason that we have to compare him to LeBron, and we had to compare him to Mike, pardon me, and the reason why we had to compare Kobe to Mike, because there was nobody else to compare him to. That's how good they are and how good Kobe was. We had to compare him to Michael Jordan because there was nobody else on his level. There's nobody else on LeBron's level right now. You could say KD all you want to. And you've got plenty of arguments, and I love Kevin Durant. He's my favorite player. But let's be honest. If you're a fan of a basketball team, are you going to say to yourself, hey, I really don't want LeBron to come over here? Maybe not now. I mean, obviously there's been some things that have happened, with the Lakers, and they just haven't looked that good. But even then, if LeBron goes to your team, do you feel like, we got a shot? You do. Same thing would have happened with Kobe. He spent his entire career as a Laker, and you can't tell me that if at any point, if you're a Knicks fan, a Nets fan, a Clippers fan, whomever, you can't tell me that if your team would have got Kobe Bean, you would have been like, oh man, really? Why we getting him? No, you'd been like, yo, we just got Kobe Bryant, bro. But I suppose we learn a lot in passing. Appreciation. You know? It's just, it was so hard seeing Kobe, man. It really was. You know, God bless his family. Man, I can only imagine. But again, just, and that, man, that story. Have you seen the story? I'm sure somebody's got it on a short somewhere by now already on YouTube or TikTok or something. Where, and I had forgot about this. You would think a guy my age, 38, would remember very clearly. Oh, by the way, Kobe Bean wrecked the hell out of Pau Gasol. Why, bro? Because I want to win. I'm telling you, that was hilarious. LeBron thinking to himself, nah, man, you tripping, bro. That's your teammate. That ain't about to happen. Boom, right out of the gate. Get up. And you wonder why they call him Black Mamba. Damn. You really need to see that documentary, man. It is really good. They had to pipe in interviews from Kobe from like 2015, et cetera, that he did on that and when he was talking about it. But man, that is a hell of a documentary. I'm telling you what. If you need a good laugh, man, those guys are just having a good time talking about it. You could tell. And, you know, Coach K, the way that he handled himself and all that, man, those guys, you know, being pro ball players, they really gravitated towards him. Coach K, is an all-time coach. It's really all there is to it, you know. And obviously me being a Syracuse fan, even for basketball, man, I saw bits and pieces where Jim Boeheim was in there. So that tells me the level of respect that he had for Jim Boeheim to put him on his staff. So that was really cool for me to see. Obviously, he's a huge Syracuse fan. Although I wish Boeheim would, man, I love that guy. But dude, it's time, bro. It's time. That's really about it. Recap, UFC doing the Metaverse thing. You know, I guess it'll be a cool experience. But I just, you know, I remember there was a time when you could watch big fights on local television. You can't do that anymore. And I understand everybody's got to make money, but dude, at some point, you know, what is the cost of being a fan? You want to be a fan. How can you be a fan if you don't have the ESPN app or cable or YouTube TV or, you know, or UFC Fight Pass or afford the pay-per-views? I mean, at what point, man? Dana has really brought that up to the level that it is with some obvious help from guys like Chuck Liddell, Conor McGregor, you know, Ronda Rousey. Love her or hate her, she is a huge reason why the UFC is where they are. You know, it's just what he's done is incredible. But after a while, I'm not spending the money, I'll tell you that. Obviously, like we talked about college games, I like TCU by 10. I like Tennessee by 3 over Bama. It's going to be a squeaker. I just think that Tennessee's got just enough offense. But I'm going to tell you what, that Bama defensive line is the best in college football. You just have to be able to get past them. If you can get past them, the rest of that Alabama defense is not that good. Okay? North Carolina State, Syracuse, we're about to get exposed. Okay? I love what they've done up to this point. Great to see them ranked. But it's about to go away when North Carolina State wins by 14 in Syracuse. It's going to be horrible to watch, but I'm going to. Again, last round of preseason games tonight in the NBA before the season starts on Tuesday, and I think all eyes are just going to be on Golden State. That seems legit to me. Go watch the Redeem Team. Man, that is a great little sportumentary. It really is a good one. And then, of course, NFL action this week. A lot of teams with 2-3 records playing each other. Yawn for the most part. You do have, obviously, Dallas taking on Philly on Sunday night. I like Dallas to win that game because of their defense. I think it's close, but I do like Dallas's defense over the Philadelphia offense. And then, in addition to that, obviously, Chiefs and Bills. That's going to be the game that everybody's going to watch. I don't think there's a person on planet Earth that is not going to try and figure out how to watch that football game. It is going to be one hell of a one. I do like KC to win. Strictly because I think Buffalo and Josh Allen, as focused as they are, and as good as they are, and as good as that defense is, I think they get a little too focused on we have to win this game. Josh Allen says all the right things. Hey, man, we want to be 1-0 every week. Look, man, I get that. You could say that all you want to, but don't pretend that this game doesn't mean something to you. Now, mind you, last year, Buffalo did beat Kansas City in the regular season, right? But then they couldn't get it done in the playoffs, which is where it really matters. When the Chiefs finally beat Brady, it was done in the regular season. When it mattered in the Super Bowl, they got drubbed. So let's be honest. Even if Buffalo does win this football game, it's not going to signify anything other than we'll see you in the playoffs, because there's nobody in the AFC West that's going to keep Kansas City from getting that division title. If Denver goes on some miracle run, whatever, dude, if Justin Herbert is able to get healthy, that's about the only possibility, is Justin Herbert. I think if he hadn't got hurt, not only do I think they beat Kansas City early on in the season, but I think they win 11 or 12 games this year. I really do. He is playing through the pain, so we'll see how that goes. All right, everybody, I am Drew Duncan. This was the Sing 57 Sports Show, and as always, stay safe. Take care of yourselves.